Welcome to my boring opinion.
Okay, I'm back again, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the problem with Dragon Ball Super. This is going to be a multi-part video, as I've only seen part of the series so far. So, this is going to be part 1. I don't know when I can upload a part 2 and part 3, as of right now. Because so far, there's only 52 episodes available in English of Dragon Ball Super at the Funimation website. And I'm more than halfway through that. I'm almost at episode 39 of that so far. So, I think I'll go ahead and get to the problem with the pen and with the recreation of God of Destruction, Battle of Gods, and Resurrection F. Okay, so the problem with that. So, now one of the problems that I have with that is that in the, like the narrator in the first episode, he kind of makes it sound like that the beginning of the episode takes place like months after they wished away everybody's memories of Majin Buu. Okay, so yeah, maybe sometime between Celebration with Majin Buu when he's always late, or something, I don't know. That part is speculation. I don't really know that for sure. So it's like months after they wished away the memory of Majin Buu. So it makes it sound like it's months later. Like several months later. Which, by the way, that would actually line up more with the 39-year timeline that Beerus was supposedly sleeping than Battle of the Gods did. Battle of the Gods made it perfectly clear that it was 5 years later. So, either way, we have problems. So if Dragon Ball Super takes place several months after the Majin Buu thing, like after they wished away everybody's memories of Majin Buu, then Videl should not be pregnant with Pan. And Marin, my current and 18's daughter, should be about 5 at that point. So, and it would actually make sense as to why Goten and Trunks hasn't aged. And that also be something that conflicts with Battle of the Gods, which clearly takes place 5 years later. Now, the party is set in a different spot in Battle of the Gods. Bulma's party is at Capsule Corp, and Super is on that boat, that cruise ship. And wow, and let's see, and the way Vegeta was acting, like when he was trying to keep the peace around Beerus, they were acting like the way he was acting, trying to make sure that Beerus doesn't get upset about anything. I don't like, you watch Dragon Ball Z, you can't really picture Vegeta doing that. He just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. By the way, if you take Bardock, the father of Goku, seriously, then you notice two things. Number one, Goku it's implied to have been like at least a day or so old at the time that Planet Planet Vegeta was destroyed by Frieza. So that would mean that 39 years later would make Goku 39 years old. Which, Battle of the Gods, that kind of conflicts. Because that is definitely 5 years later, to which point Goku should have been in his early 40s. About 41, 42 years old. Now, if Super takes place closer to the right timeline, then there's another mistake right there. Videl should not have been pregnant with his Pan during the battle with Beerus the Destroyer. Now, if it does take place, now if those episodes does somehow take place 5 years after Majin Buu, then the question is, why haven't Trunks and Goten aged since Majin Buu? At this point, because at that point, you have Trunks would have been 13 during Beerus, during the battle with Beerus the Destroyer. Goten would have been 12. And then during Frieza, which is implied to take place, we know at least somewhere around a year and a half later, somewhere in that area. We know at least a year later because the Dragon Balls are active again, and Pilaf and his little gang makes a wish. And so far, by the way, Super never explains how Pilaf and his gang ended up as kids. Like, I don't. They should probably explain that, or maybe they do in an episode that I haven't seen yet. At least there's an episode that explained who Jocko was and how Bulma knew him. Which, by the way, I find it weird that Super is the only Dragon Ball series that even mentions Bulma's sister. And it's even stranger that Goku, who at that point would have known Bulma for decades, never even knew that Bulma had a sister. Not even Vegeta, Bulma's husband, knew about it. I mean, what's up with that? Didn't they go to any, you have to get-togethers or something? I might address that later. So with the Frieza thing, in the Frieza arc, that takes place in Super. That would take place around the same year of Future Trunks' 13 years later timeline. That's pretty much what Trunks should have looked like in that. Because at that point, Trunks would have been 14, Goten would have been 13. And in the episode I'm watching right now, it's implied that another year, at least, has gone by because they used the Dragon Balls again. And by that point, Goten should have been 14 and Trunks should have been 15. If it was 5 years, if the series began 5 years after Majin Buu. Something else I've noticed doing that is during the when they was preparing for that tournament of the gods of power, whatever they called that, whatever they want to call that, in between the episode I'm watching right now, and in that tournament in Dragon Ball Super, on the planet with no name. Something else is that it is mentioned in that episode. Goku mentions to Vegeta that Kid Buu has been reincarnated, and it is implied that he is a baby. But at that point, Kid Buu should have been about 7 years old. Oob should have been about 7 years old at that point. So you have stuff that doesn't add up. Now, that's assuming if it follows Battle of the Gods storyline of 5 years later. Otherwise, Pan shouldn't exist yet, and Oob would have been about 3 years old. Should have been about 3. Now, something else I find interesting is that during during the 10 years later in the first episode of Dragon Ball Z that had takes place 10 years later, where like during the last few episodes, Bulma and Vegeta have a daughter named Bulla. And it's my understanding that Pan is at least 1 year older than Bulla. So, of the arc of, if this tournament and the battle and the Pan with no name is supposed to take place at least by the same time where Pan is supposed to be over a year old, then where's Bulla? Where's baby Bulla? I mean, I don't know, it seems like Bulma should have, there should at least be something mentioned about it. Some mention of Bulma being pregnant or something, like somewhere, before I finish what I'm watching, before I get to episode 52. So, I better wrap this up. Like I said, this month I probably there's so much to go over. So you have so many plot holes, stuff that don't make sense. I mean, because if this is supposed to be 5 years later, then why haven't Trunks and Goten aged? I mean, it's beginning of the show, it's 5 years later since Majin Buu. And if it is supposed to be months after Majin Buu, after they wish away the memory of Majin Buu, which probably means close to a year, when you add it all up, it's supposed to be months, like several months, after they wished away everybody's memory of Majin Buu. Then Videl should not have been pregnant with Pan. Now the narrator kind of implies that it's been months. And once again, the months would that would kind of explain why Trunks and Goten hasn't aged much. However, what are they doing having Videl pregnant with Pan? They're doing the Frieza episode of Super. What are they doing having Pan already a baby and Videl? And once again, Pan and Trunks and Goten still hasn't aged much since the Majin Buu episodes. It's supposed to be, in Resurrection F, that movie's supposed to have been at least close to 6.5, 7 years after Majin Buu. We know that it's close to a year. We know it's at least a year later. We don't know how long it took, we do not know how long it took Pilaf and the rest of his gang to gather the Dragon Balls. But we know that at that point, during the Frieza episodes of Super, and even at that point in Resurrection F, by the same timeline, that should have been at least 6 years, 6.5, 7 years after Majin Buu. And then you have where I'm at right now, well, I don't know what they would call that. The Dragon Ball series is divided into sagas. I don't know what they call this saga. I forgot to look it up. Whenever they're at the planet with no name at the tournament. So that episode, we know that's at least a year after Frieza was wished back to life. Oh, and I have to mention the dragon granted 3 wishes instead of 2. That's another thing. And I'm going to end it right here. So much to go over. So much to go over. You can't cover it all in one video. Especially when I've not seen everything yet. I knew Dragon Ball Super would have a bunch of plot holes in it. Especially stuff that kind of collides with GT. Which GT has mistakes in it too. And a couple of plot holes itself. But Super has plot holes even bigger. And even worse than that. So GT plot holes is not anywhere near as bad as Super's. major papa's. Major. And that's it for this video. Bye.
This has been my boring opinion.
Thanks for watching my video, and don't forget to follow me, subscribe, and check out my Twitter, and follow me on Patreon.